Hi everyone, my name is Vinod Sanadia. We are pleased that you are taking time out of your busy day to know more about serverless technology. Today we will discuss about the differences between monolithic and serverless architecture. Please feel free to put your questions anytime using the tab at the right side of your screen. We will try to answer as many of your questions as possible at the end of this presentation. We will also send everyone an email with a link to the recording and the presentation slides in a week or two. Please allow me a minute to introduce OpenXcell Technolabs. OpenXcell Technolabs is a CMI Level 3 and ISO 9000-2008 certified company located in India and USA. We are a team of enthusiastic designers, developers and managers exceeding the strength of 200. We have a strong hold in mobile app development, web development, e-commerce development and enterprise systems. We have delivered quality solutions across the globe. The presentation will be carried out by Poonam Matai. Poonam is working as a delivery manager in OpenXcell Technolabs. Poonam has 14 years of experience in IT industry and has delivered various software solutions globally. So now I am handing over the mic to Poonam.
Hello everyone, good evening. This webinar objective is to know what is monolithic architecture, drawbacks of monolithic architecture, what is serverless architecture, how to migrate the current application to serverless architecture, some examples of serverless architecture using AWS Lambda, hosting providers which give advantage to use this architecture, which type of projects can go for this architecture, big shots that have started to adopt this architecture, and conclusion. So first let's understand what is termed monolithic and monolithic architecture. The term monolithic refers to a large block of stone. I'm sure you all will be wondering how an application or a website hosting architecture can be termed as monolithic and why it is compared to large block of stone. Basically, monolithic architecture means all the components stay at one place like a block of stone. As stones stay firm at one place, so same way all the pieces of the application stay at same place. In this type of architecture, all components are tightly coupled and interdependent on each other. To compile and execute this type of program, all its components are placed at same server with an interdependent code. Example, suppose an application which requires database, server-side code in any server-side language like Java, PHP, .NET, etc. and a content management system. So these all are different components which are placed at same server and are interdependent to make the application work. Another example, if we take a real-time example of a social networking application which can have three key features like user authentication, user posting images, I mean to say media to a web application, a user posting reviews and ratings. So this application will have UI layer, business logic, web service and a database. And this all will be placed on same server. And this type of architecture of an application is monolithic application. Now let's see what are drawbacks of monolithic architecture. Basically, all the changes we face in our current growing application are the drawback of monolithic architecture. Let's take them one by one. Difficult to scale in terms of traffic. Ideally not difficult to be exact. Scaling up to some extent can be handled, but smart scaling is not possible as all the components are tightly coupled. So if there is one component which requires scaling, it ends up scaling whole architecture. Example, consider same social networking application which we discussed above, which has 3 key features. If that application, due to large user media, we want to increase server space or make this feature faster, to resolve this, we will scale whole server instead of only one key feature. Ideally, other 2 key feature does not require scaling. Due to unreasonable scaling of whole server, it will definitely point to our next drawback, which is high cost. We are well aware about the fact that hosting providers have good offer only for startups or for initial stages of an online product. This is where we end up paying more as we scale whole project or server just due to one component which actually requires scaling. So basically, in monolithic architecture, as the program grows, it will keep on increasing its cost for maintaining the server. Another point we can consider is multiple use of server-side languages. Normally it is in very initial stage of a product, we make a decision on choosing a programming language to make our whole product. Now every language has some benefits and limitation over each other. But since the architecture is monolithical, the code can support only one language. So we have to live with its limitation and have to restrict our visualization and plans of improvement up to some extent. Example, PHP is using interpreter to execute the code. So it has to execute whole code every time. Whereas Java uses compiler. So after one time compiling, it can execute compiled code. Due to monolithic architecture, if you want to take benefit of Java into PHP product, it will be really difficult. Coming to our next point, it's difficult to enhance application features. Unless solid principles have been followed in any application, all the components are tightly coupled. And if any feature needs enhancement, whole system needs to be rechecked, as it is easy to break other part of a component or a whole system at some time. After knowing all these facts, to give you a solution, there is a fizz going around, yes, to move application or website to a serverless architecture. But let's find out what is serverless architecture. Serverless does not mean we don't require any server there. However, it means we are using third-party services and we don't require to worry about the architecture. Serverless computing is a brilliant concept to scale the cloud resources per requirement. It is also popular known as function as a service, FaaS. Serverless computing is an extension of a microservices. This architecture gives flexibility to use the microservices without reinventing everything in your application. Example, using microservices for search, chat, image processing, etc. If your application logic requires fast search for a complex database, then a simple web service can never serve the purpose. As data will increase on server, it will require more memory to compute the search. So creating a web service to search is like reinventing the wheel when you already have a wheel available in other part of a city. So a ready search microservice will let you search on a keystroke without any hosting headache for your application. Another way to understand this architecture is to divide features into microservices. Microservice is independent piece of business logic and it can communicate through APIs. Same way, you can also design microservice for your each module in business logic, which are loosely coupled and can communicate with each module through API. Each microservice should only perform a single function. Yes, do remember this. And should have a single responsibility. These services can be then hosted on hosting provider, which gives serverless hosting capabilities. Thus, to go with serverless is either use third-party services or create your own microservices in a way that it can be used whenever required through an API gateway. Let's see a diagram which shows how they are different. Different as per architecture. The left-hand diagram is for monolithic architecture. It gives you UI layer, business layer, data communication layer which connects with database. These all layers are hosted at one place. If there is any problem in one area, whole system will break. Whereas in the serverless architecture, whole system is divided into small granules called microservices. Like you can see, the boxes termed as microservices are actually the components which are divided into the projects. Each microservice is independent and can perform its activity independently. We can see what benefit this structure gives in our next slide. Why the need of serverless architecture? Imagine your application is fully functional and a good user base, and suddenly one key feature breaks, which results to a downtime of one whole application. Serverless architecture gives us a ability to cope up with this type of failures and breakdowns of a large application. If you refer to our previous slide, in serverless architecture, each module was microservices and independent. So if there is any breakdown in one key feature, only that part of application will affect and rest everything will work properly. As everything As everything is divided into microservices, we have to fix only relevant microservice. Secondly, all other microservices are intact, and so there is no downtime for any other feature in the application. Reduce server maintenance and cost effective. You can enjoy the cost effectiveness by paying for what you use. Yes, so no cost will occur when your code is not running. Unless serverless architecture allows you to run the code for virtually any type of backend service or application with zero administration. Cost re, uh, Code reusability. Since every feature is a microservice which can be called from any platform, it can be reused multiple times. One microservice will have only one single responsibilities, so you can use that actually in your different projects or different modules of a same project. Freedom to code in a different language at server end. You can use multiple language or combination of making microservice, and they can compute with each other using API. So this way you can take benefit of best. Secondly, you don't have to worry about architecture on server for each server side language. It reduces complexity of software. As a project is granularized into microservices, it becomes easy and simple to maintain, which ultimately reduces complexity of a whole software system. Next, after knowing all these advantages, we will obviously like to think of migrating our current structure. So yes, we can migrate our existing application. Let's see how to migrate the current application to serverless architecture. First, you have to identify the analysis project core logic and current structure. Then break down the code and isolate its functionality. Create microservices. You can plan to create microservice for each feature for module. A single microservices module can have multiple web services as well. Decide the key reason to migration. This is a very important point. Like, you have to decide a key reason. Key reason can be slowness. So then you have to identify which part of application is slow or needs improvement. Like that, there can be many key reasons to choose the migration. Maybe server cost, expansion of project, need support and create sub-product out of main product, use of other languages, etc. Based on key feature, reason, based on key reason, plan certain functional migration. A hybrid structure can also be used in key reason can be identified. Example, there is social networking application and it has a feature to upload multiple images and videos. If the part of this code is taking load and is slow, this feature can be redeveloped using serverless architecture. And this will help you to make application faster. I'll show you one diagram. This will help you to understand how serverless architecture can help you resolve the problem. I'm right now using Amazon Lambda hosting provider example to demonstrate how to isolate image processing feature and make the same in microservice. Image processing code can be placed on Amazon Lambda. We can now set up like if an image or an media is uploaded from any application or website to S3 bucket, then it will trigger code on Amazon Lambda to create its multiple size of image. This can remove the image processing code from main web service and make it as a background process, which will actually help you to get faster response in your application to front-end users. As I used Amazon Lambda example, I'm sure you will think which hosting providers give advantage to use this structure. One of the best known vendor hosting of which currently we used is Amazon Lambda, but other also have joined the race like Google Functions, Microsoft Azure Functions, IBM OpenWhisk, Iron.io, WebTask, etc. Now to make any decision, we obviously have to see which type of projects can go for serverless architecture. Mainly every project which can be modularized can adopt this architecture. Secondly, this is also a tricky question as every organization, company and system is different. A number of factors will play whether or not microservices are right for you and how aggressively you can adopt them. But new ideas and development should definitely go with this structure. I'll definitely suggest that. So this makes us think if people out there are really using it, and yes, they are. Let us see which other application have started using this structure. The topmost is Amazon, eBay, IBM, even Google is using, and surely yours can be the next. Now after going through all the perspective of monolithic and serverless, let us conclude. Monolithic architecture is currently widely used. However, serverless architecture is future solution to all the limitation which a monolithic architecture has. Cost to start the development with monolithic architecture is same as the development with from serverless architecture. So I guess you can definitely plan to start with this architecture in your future projects or upcoming ideas. I'll hand over uh, to Vinod for any question and answers you have.
Thank you, Poonam. It was a great presentation. Now we can have our question answer session. If you have any doubts, you can write your questions on the right side of your screen in the chat box. Okay, so we got a question regarding presentation link and the video. We will send a link of this video and the presentation uh, uh, in a week or two around on your mentioned email IDs. So we'll do that. No worries. Any other question? Regarding some technical terms or regarding some services what we offer for serverless, we can have one-to-one session. So we can talk individually for that. Yeah. Okay, fine. I think we are not getting much questions other than that. So now we can conclude the presentation. Uh, thank you. Thank you all the participants. Thanks for your time. Thank you, Poonam, for the presentation. Okay, now I'm going to end this meeting. Thanks.